Friday on Radio Row, Tyreek Hill went on multiple platforms. He apologized to Tua Tagovailoa, the Miami Dolphins, and said he regrets what he said after the loss to the Jets in the Dolphins season finale. We will play the clips and we will talk about it all. Also, Dan Marino discusses the narratives around the Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, and much more. We'll talk about that. Plus, we got to give Chop his nod, all on this episode, sponsored by BetUS. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through as Super Bowl it inches closer and closer as we are now 1 day away. And listen, I haven't even given my prediction. You know, I had Richmond, I had Ball Game on this week. They gave their predictions. Honestly, I think we're in for a three-peat, sorry. You know, I know, shout out to all you Miami Heat fans, Pat Riley has licensed the three-peat terminology, verbiage, and trademark to the Chiefs in case they do win. You know, I just think you look at what Mahomes has done. We kind of talked about it. You know, I talked about the ball game in Richmond. You know, that franchise went from leaning on Mahomes to do everything and be Superman to they built the defense out. Spags built it out in his vision. You know, they learned against the Bucs to not cheapen on the offensive line, right? They traded Tyreek Hill before they cheapened on the offensive line. And give him the time. And hey, when he's got to make the plays, go make the plays, Pat. And he does. You know, they tried to build a run game there a little bit. You know, they haven't worked out. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't work out the way they have. And Pacheco hasn't become the breakaway workhorse that they thought he'd become. But, man, you know, we're talking about two good defenses. Two good defenses going at each other. I mean, it's not going to be a high-scoring affair. I know 38-35 was the score last time. Now you got a Eagles defense that's allowing, 17.8 points per game, and a Chiefs defense that's allowing about 19.2. You know? It's going to be interesting. And, you know, you look at how I said Mahomes got a big plays. The perfect example is look at the Chiefs on third down. 48.5% this season, second in the NFL. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting because, again, the Eagles, they got the third best third down defense. So, I don't know, man. I'm not a big believer in Jalen Hurts. I think Patrick Mahomes can make more plays than Jalen Hurts because he got the threat of his arm. You know, we're talking about a guy who didn't even throw for 20 touchdowns this year in 15 games. Didn't even throw for 3,000 yards. You know? Now, does he make it happen with his legs? Yeah, he had 630 yards and 14 touchdowns. So he counted for 32 total touchdowns. But you look at how that defense is built. It's young. It's fast in KC. I think they can lock it down. I think they can lock him down. I really do. I don't think Jalen Hurts, I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to throw for 304 yards like he did when they faced off in the Super Bowl a few years ago. Jalen Hurts was lights out throwing the ball. He was like 27 of 38, 304 yards, a touchdown, no picks. He had 70 yards rushing and 3 rushing touchdowns. I don't think that, I don't think you're going to beat them like that again. They're ready for that. But, Mahomes didn't even throw for 200 yards, but he threw for 3 touchdowns last time they faced off. So, I do think it's going to... Both defenses can make plays. Both defenses can tilt the game. I'm taking the Chiefs in a 3-peat. Let's be honest. They beat San Fran twice. They're probably going to beat the Eagles twice. We all thought, hey, San Fran's playing them second time. Shanahan, the offensive mind, they're probably going to get them. They lost. And I like Purdy as a passer, and I would pick Purdy over Jalen Hurts every day of the week and 2 times on Sunday. I'm sorry. Purdy can still extend plays, not as obviously well as Jalen Hurts, but he can still extend plays with his legs and has some athleticism. He can beat you from the pocket. I would take Purdy all day over him. So for me, especially with that team, holy jeez, you put Tua on that Eagles team. Oh my God. But I it's a very complete team, but I'm gonna take the Kansas City Chiefs. I am going to take the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to take them 22. I'm going to take them... Yeah, I'm going to take them... Let's go 23-17 Kansas City. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. Now, hey, could I be wrong? I've been wrong before. So... Sure, I could be, but I don't think I see these defenses are better than what they were a couple years ago, both of them. They're coached better than what they were a couple years ago. This to me has the making, really honestly, for a defensive battle. Remember back the Patriots and the Rams Super Bowl, remember how good Todd Gurley was, and he got shut down. It's crazy because stories have come out this week about, I believe it was Gurley, said he talked to defenders, and they, for the Patriots, they said it was like the easiest, they game planned them for them, so they said it was the easiest game they've ever executed for and ever had defensively, one of the easiest games. They just knew what they were going to do and just executed, read their keys and just executed. And I think this is going to come down to there's not going to be a ton of opportunities that are going to present themselves. Who's going to make the most of those opportunities between Hurts and Mahomes? Now, Saquon Barkley. Everyone's going to say Saquon. I get that. The Kansas City Chiefs have not allowed a 100-plus yard rusher against them since 2019 in the playoffs. Think about that for a second. That's a crazy stat. Think about all the teams they've played, et cetera, et cetera. We all know they played the Ravens and beat the Ravens. Ravens are a good rushing team even before they got Derrick Henry. They made it work with guys like Gus Edwards and stuff. Think about that for a second. This could be the game where Saquon flashes the dud. Spags is ready for him. Just saying. Don't put that out of the realm of possibility. We all thought Todd Gurley was going to give a tough day for that New England Patriots defense years ago, and what ended up happening? What was that game, like 13-9 or whatever it was? I believe it was 13-9. I don't have the score in front of me, but I think it was. So, think about that for a second. This could be the game where it all shuts down, and no one's thinking about that. Sorry, 13-3. I apologize. I gave too many points to the Rams. 13-3. So... yeah, I'm just saying. Everyone expects Barkley to go off, and it might not just be that simple. So, one of those games, Super Bowls, where Brady didn't have to do much because the defense shut him down. So, like I said, this episode, you already know what time it is. It is sponsored by BetUS. And speaking of the Super Bowl, for all your Super Bowl prop specials, like the first team to score, the first score of the game is a touchdown, team to score last. Hey, go over to betus.com right now, your number one sports book for the Super Bowl. All right, go use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Get your first 3 deposits matched by 150%, up to $2,000. What are your picks for the early props? Put them in the comment section. Put them in the chat, wherever you are. Put them down. I want to know, what early props do you like? And so does BetUS want to know. Go use promo code YouTube150. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the channel. Let's get into Tyreek Hill. We've asked the question lately. Are they doing damage control? Are both sides doing damage control? What's the deal here? Right? Like, are they both playing nice and options are being explored? Well, again, I know it's just a theory for me. I put it out there as a theory. It's not sourced information. I have an inkling that he had something to do with Welker being sent packing, from what I've heard of how strict Welker was, the standard Welker was held in guys to, etc., etc. And what's interesting, before we watch these clips, I want you to keep in mind, and we're going to have Omar Kelly on here in the next couple of weeks or whatever, but I saw Omar Kelly on X telling people, oh, why are people assuming that Tyreek was the one who was late for meetings? And I know on this channel, we've talked about the late for meetings issue, and Tyreek is one of the people we've talked about using he missed one of the practices leading up to the season finale against the Jets with an illness, only to show up on TikTok working his catch registered sole runner at Ventura Mall. So he was someone we all were like, yo, we think he's one of the culprits. Keep that in mind with these clips you're about to hear. Keep that in mind. All right? I'm going to play these clips. I'm going to play this for you. We're going to go over what he says to Kay Adams first, because he said he apologized to the Dolphins and said he regretted what he said post-game on 2 different platforms. So let's play what happened on Kay.
But I will say, having some conversations with my family, having some conversations with my mom, because my mom is still like very, in my life, very heavy. Virginia Hill, by the way, she called me. She was like, baby boy, like, we don't handle our situations like that. And like in that moment, I'm like chill, like, leave me alone. Like, I need you to be on my side. Like, I need you here for me.
When was this, after week 18?
Yeah, this was after the Jets game or whatever. And like, it gave me some time to think about it. Like, yes, I could have handled the situation better by saying, like, instead of saying I'm out, I could have obviously handled it better. And I wish I did. You know what I'm saying? But in the heat of the moment, I just said whatever I had to say. And I'm taking full accountability of that. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to win. You know what I'm saying? We want to win, and I'm sure the fans want to win. But I feel like a lot of things needed to be said sometime, man. So it's tough right now. I want to come back.
Do you regret what you said after the game?
Yes.
So Teron Armstead, I'm sure you have a lot of respect for him.
That's my dog.
A leader. yesterday he said you have some mending to do. That's what he said when he was asked about it. What kind of mending do you think you have to do with your teammates?
Well, for me, I love to show guys, my hard work and my appreciation to them by just going to practice every day, busting my tail, showing up to meetings on time,
Notice how he said that?
just doing everything the right way, the exact way a pro is supposed to be, doing the stuff what a number one player is supposed to be, which is being on time, being very coachable, being very attentive in meetings and stuff like that. So I think that's the biggest, thing I can offer to my teammates, and just being that kind of leader, you know what I'm saying, like what I've been my whole career. So this year, man, I'm like holding myself to that kind of standard. So I want to be the best, and that's kind of what, has helped me, stay in this league and be successful in this league, like just by doing the right thing. So I want to continue doing that. I don't want to fall off like who I am or like who my parents raised me to be. Like, I want to continue to be that guy. So
Will you talk to Tua about it? How does he figure into all of this that's going on?
You know, Tua, he's my guy. Always will be my guy, no matter what, man. Like, and I'm sure, like, he understands my frustration. Like, we all want to win. Tua, he's another competitor. He's a hell of a competitor. A lot of people don't know that. He's a winner. He's consistent. So I'm looking forward to, you know, just us continuing to build our relationship, man, even more.
I love it.
And this is my public
I love that
apology.
This is important. So is that what that is? Please.
This is my public apology to you, Tua. I love you, bro.
But take it. I mean, are you sort of wanting to say you're sorry to your team?
Oh God, yeah. But I mean, but they already know that though. Like they know I'm not that kind of player though. I like a lot of people may say, oh, Reek is a hothead. He's this, he's that. But all my teammates know, bro. Like I come to work every day. I bust my tail. I show up to meetings on time, and I do what I gotta do, bro. So.
Yeah. I think it's important that you're saying this. I think Armstead's going to be really important. Sounds like you're wanting to mend things.
Yeah.
Is there anything standing in your way? I've never been on an NFL team, so what has to happen now?
I mean, for what?
Just for things to, I'm imagining, I'll ask you, do you want to be a Miami Dolphin?
I do. I don't want to go nowhere. I love it. My family loves it. Kids absolutely love being on the beach every morning. So it's an amazing thing, man. We are really building something special in Miami. We made it to the playoffs the first 2 years. Obviously, this year was hard, but if guys continue to buy in, you know, into what coach is building and the culture that like he's trying to build, it's gonna be a beautiful thing, man.
All right. So first of all, at the end there, he talks about like buying into the culture and you know, if guys, well, right now you're one of those guys, bro. You just said you're out. I mean, you know, you're more worried about, you know, landing the mothers of kids going to your football camps in the sack, you know, than getting those hands crisper, bro. Instead of trying to, you know, after you break that lady's leg, instead of trying to, you know, get her in your room in between the sheets, I don't know, why don't you go, you know, hit the jug machine a little bit, because your hands have been suspect since you've been to Miami a little bit. But hey, what do I know? Now, you know, a few things here. You know, first of all, your mom had to check you. You know, this still shows what we feared when we got here. And, you know, I was one of the people that defended him. But this shows the lack of maturity to be a leader. You know, the mom had to check you. The mom had to cool you down. The mom had to let you know what time it was. Now, I get it. You know, a lot of mama boys, I'm a mama boy. We all need our mom to come through and check us in times where we're heated. I get that. We've all been there. But, brother, you're getting paid $30 million. This is a business. And you got that C on your chest. Your mama shouldn't have to check you. And this is what I'm going to say, you know. You talk about how you're frustrated, how you're pissed after we lost. Brother, you think Calais wasn't frustrated and pissed? He's knocking on 40's door. You're just entering your 30s. You've already won a chip. Calais hasn't won one yet. You think Armstead wasn't pissed? He's won a chip. He's been there to the promised land. But at the same time, you know, his body is literally breaking down, and he's still putting it on the line to try and help us win. You think he isn't disappointed? He isn't pissed off? Jalen Ramsey, he won just a couple years ago. He came here and asked to be traded here because he believed in what we were building. You think he isn't pissed? You think he isn't frustrated? But are they going in front of cameras and saying what you're saying? That's the reality of the situation. You know, it's crazy too. Like, I know at the end of it, he mentioned, you know, I'm on time for meetings and stuff. But if you look at actually, he's kind of contradicting when he's talking about being on time. First of all, being on time, he mentioned it 3 times. But the first 2 times he mentioned it, right? He mentioned being on time for meetings when talking about the kind of leader he can be and the standards he's holding himself to. He talked about being on time twice in that sense, but then at the tail end of those clips, he said, you know, like I've been my whole career, I'm going to be on time for meetings, blah, 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 blah. He mentioned it 3 times. So I'm going to continue to stick to clearly he was one of those guys. He mentioned it 3 freaking times. And 2 of them were in the sense of talking about the standard he's holding himself to now and the leader he can be. Clearly they're trying to mend fences. And we know why the Dolphins are. They're not going to get that kind of weapon in the draft. They're not going to get that kind of weapon in free agency. And they don't even have the money to go even compete for T. Higgins. They don't want to spend another, and they probably don't want to spend another $30 million. Never mind T. Higgins. He's out of the question. Now, if they were in the range for, I'm still saying, hey, if Ted McMillan's there at 8 or 9, I would look at trading up. But I'm telling you, like, Emeka Ibuka still makes sense as a sneaky pick, or maybe a day 2 guy. But, man, you know, they're trying to make it work, I guess. You know, he even apologized to Tua, and I know he was joking around a little bit at the end there too, but, you know, he mentioned Tua's a competitor. You know, all these guys are competitors. Never mind just Tua. He apologized to the whole team. He said they all know that. Well, yeah, they do all know the type of person you are, but a lot of them are questioning the type of leader you are after what they saw. It's not about what the type of person you are or how dynamic of a player you are. People are not questioning the leader you are and if you're the right type of leader for that locker room. Because, again, go back. I've been talking about the culture, and I know I was making the crack about the mother of that kid from the football camp with the broken leg or whatever. But still, I mean, you got to be locked in, bro. We ain't won nothing yet. You want to go be having these wild parties and just be living the South Beach life? And you think that's cool because you won a championship while you're in KC? Fantastic. But guess what? That ain't helping us in Miami. Now, if it was 4 or 5 years ago you won a Super Bowl in Miami, yeah, okay, we'd have some leniency. But even still then, man, it's been a while. It's not like you won last year. And the team that shipped you out keeps winning. The focus should be on trying to make those people regret that decision, and they ain't regretting it one bit right now. But here we are. And then Tyreek went on Pro Football Talk, and he basically doubled down on regretting what he said. Listen to this.
You mentioned the situation that God put you in, but when we heard you after the Week 18 game, it sounded like you didn't want to be in that situation anymore. And I understand it's an emotional time, but you said it. So where are you now?
I'm in a good space, man. I've had a conversation with my mom, had a conversation with my wife, and basically, like, as a father, you don't need to put yourself in a situation like that. It doesn't matter how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, be able to, you know, man up, because at the end of the day, you're a leader of men. Like, you're a leader of this team. So you got to know how to handle yourself in those moments. Right. Like, take accountability. Right. And I'm taking full accountability of what I said, man. Like, I don't deserve to say anything like that. Yeah. You know, Miami Dolphins, they paying me to play this. Yeah. They've been good to you. They've been very good to me. Right. So why am I going to go out and say some of the things that I said, man? And I fully take it back, and I'm gonna take full accountability of it, and I'm gonna come back next year, hoping to still be there and bust my tail, man, for the team, for the guys, for the fans, for the whole city.
So you want to stay with the Dolphins?
I want to stay with the Dolphins.
100%.
I hear them. They're saying apology accepted.
So, I mean, it's crazy. He says, I want to stay with the Dolphins, but just a couple breaths before that, he's saying, I'm hoping to be there for next season. So, obviously, that conversation's been probably had privately. Again, you know, he's walking back what he said. And he's doing the rounds. Is he doing the nice guy rounds to be the nice guy? So because he knows we are exploring options. So if he does get moved, he doesn't look like the bad guy. I don't know. But, I mean, I'm getting the vibe. You listen to Greer in the, in that media availability once the season ended. And now you listen to Tyreek's comments. Drew Rosenhaus. We know he's probably the perfect bridge. How many clients does he have? 11 or 12 clients on the Dolphins? If anyone's going to work, if it was athletes first, Tyreek Hill would probably be out the door. Let's be real with ourselves. But because it's Drew Rosenhaus, hey, maybe that's why it's working. I don't know. But it does sound like both sides are going to try to mend it. And it feels like Tyreek knows they're paying him. And the Dolphins, they know they don't have the money to replace him. And because they have so many holes, that's probably one less asset to worry about having to use, whether it's financial or draft capital, to fill that void of wide receiver 2 behind Waddle. Now, I'm sure if the right guy falls in their lap on day 1 or day 2, they're probably going to pull the trigger, but they're not as, you're not as pressed. And especially in a year where they need to use their assets as wisely as possible because they got to fill all these starting holes and depth holes because it's win a playoff game or you're probably sent packing. Let's be real here. Smash that like button, guys. Subscribe if you are new. Dan Marino, he was on Pat McAfee. And he said some really interesting things, I thought at least. Let's go over them because he talked about Tua. He talked about the playoffs and the narrative of winning in cold weather and all that kind of stuff. So listen to what he said.
Will they ever be able to win in Miami? Legit. Too many distractions in Miami?
Yeah, no. It's not the distractions. It's just, we'll get there. We'll get there.
What about the narrative of that they can't win in the cold? As a guy who grew up in Pittsburgh and lived in Pittsburgh, how much of that actually plays in when it's like, you've been in Miami for a long time? Because, they have to play in New England late in the season and, in New York. Like, is that a thing, or is that mostly, just a media-driven narrative?
I think it is a narrative that's there because you got to change the narrative if you want someone to stop talking about it, and we haven't done that, really. Even when I played, we'd always try to get home field advantage, and so you don't have to go to Buffalo or you don't have to go, to Pittsburgh or Kansas City when it's, below zero because we're not used to playing in that stuff, But so that's the narrative is that we got to win more games and get home field advantage. You know what? I thought we had a very good football team this year until we start getting, injuries, especially at the end of the year. And look, Tua is our quarterback. He's going to be our quarterback, but we need to find a way to just keep him healthy, especially, at the end of the year when you have to win games to get into playoffs and to maybe get home field advantage or just win playoff games. And so that's, I think, really where the focus is going to be.
Tua's thing came out of nowhere there.
Yeah,
right at the end, we just saw him come out of nowhere. Is that? How do we? You probably know a lot more than us. Yeah, you guys were in it.
Yeah.
Lurking.
Yeah.
Then he's no longer playing out of nowhere, and he finishes the season not playing. Actually, had sunglasses on one at the time.
Yeah, hanging.
Right,
so
but
cool.
he had like a hip pointer.
Okay, so he
and it's just as far as throwing. He'll be good in the future, but like for those 2-3 weeks, he was struggling with that.
Feels like you're around the team a lot, right?
Enough, yeah. I'm around.
You trying to get a little Pittsburgh in them, though, Dan?
Yeah.
Well, great.
They're saying team's soft.
That's
saying the team's soft.
Can't play in the cold.
They're saying they're soft, Dan.
Yeah, the Yinzers. We need more Yinzers.
Amen. Andy, listen, you ain't never lie. You ain't never lie, brother.
That's hilarious. Now, a few things. Number one, let's talk about the cold weather narrative. The cold weather narrative. Let's discuss this for a second. All right? Let's be honest. All right? Here's the deal. The NFL didn't start playing regular season games until 2000, Marino's final year, the 99-2000 season. And he lost, right? To the Washington Redskins in the finale in January. But look at his record in January. It was 8-11. In January, it was 8-11 as a Miami Dolphin. Because remember, the Super Bowl wasn't played in February back in the 80s and 90s. The playoffs only went until January. So, and if you look at his record in 40 degrees or lower games, Marino was 7-8. You know, it's just, you know, it's like, you know, I say this all the time, like Tua shows up like 20 to 30% of the time. We need him showing up 50 to 60% of the time, right? This is what I say all the time. And one of the perfect examples of that for me is, look at this. In the postseason, with under a minute left and needing a game tying or winning score, offenses succeed around 40% of the time. Tom Brady in his career was 5 for 12, about 42%. Drew Brees in his career, 3 for 6, 50%. Patrick Mahomes, he's 7 for 7 so far in his career. Only quarterback to ever be perfect. But you see, it's that 40 to 50% range that even the greats are in those moments. Or it's still like a 40 to 50% chance. Right now, we're getting like 20, 30% at best, and not even most of the time. It's usually 20, 25%. And it needs to be better. But he's not the only one. Tyreek has shrunk in big moments as a Dolphin. McDaniel has shrunk in big moments as a Dolphin. Multiple defenders have shrunk in big moments as the Dolphins. Go back to Tua's rookie year. 2020, winning getting in against Buffalo. What was it? Andrew Van Ginkel was the only one who got off the bus on both sides. Tua had 3 interceptions. 2 of them were on his receivers. One hit a receiver in the hand, popped up, got picked. The other one, Devontae Parker slipped, interception. The defender was right there where he slipped because Tua threw to where he was supposed to be, and he slipped. So, you go to the Titans game where we needed to win that game under Flores. Duke Johnson was one of the only guys who got off the bus on both sides of the ball. Again, no one got off the bus. Kansas City, who got off the bus? In December last year, really the only time we got off the bus was that game-winning drive against Dallas. Which goes back to the point of what I just made with Brady and being 5 for 12 in those situations in the playoffs that Tua was in against the Dallas Cowboys. Breeze being 3 for 6 in postseason career. Tua needs to be more consistent. We need more moments finished off like how he did in that Dallas Cowboys game in December. Whether it's we need a touchdown, against the Ravens, that epic comeback in 2022, or we need a field goal and clinch and get into the playoffs in the December game against the Cowboys on the game final drive of the game. We need to see more of that. Those positive results, those game-winning results. So, and, he also said something. Think about this. He said Tua is our quarterback. So there's your answer. Anyone who's hoping we're going to move off of Tua Tagovailoa, Dan Marino just basically told you, no, Tua is our guy, and that's who we're moving forward with. So, hey, Dan Marino believes. I'm still in, got to show me with this regime right now. I really am. Too big of a step back after last year. And injuries are keep being the excuse every year. And if that's the excuse every year, how long is it going to take for you to finally prepare for it? That's why we don't want you training for Max Crosby or Myles Garrett or whoever, because you can't afford to keep sending these assets like you have with Tyreek Hill and Chubb, whether financially or draft capital, because it's really shown up in the lack of depth, especially on the offensive line, where people want to have the audacity to be here, well, you should be drafting quarterback every year. Never mind drafting a quarterback every year. This team should be drafting guards and tackles and centers every year. Until they get their depth and their starters right. Holy God. And it's crazy. It's crazy. What kicks me in the nads so hard is that Chris Greer was here when the unicorn line was at its best. When you drafted Larry Tunsil and he had to kick to guard because you had a stacked offensive line. Right? Like, you know, I just don't understand. Like, you saw the blueprint, bro. You literally saw the blueprint and you decided, meh, whatever. It's crazy to me. I will never, honestly, that's what's troublesome for me. You know, like that's what scares me the most, really, when you kind of think about it. Like, think about this for a second. We are now in 2025. All right? Let's be real here. You're now in 2025. All right? So, think about this. We drafted Laremy Tunsil. Laremy Tunsil's now 30. Think about that one for a second, huh? We drafted him in the 2016 draft. All right? Okay? So, it's been almost a decade. Almost a decade. All right? Since you went 10-6 that year. Lost in the wild card to the Steelers. Got blown out, actually. What, like 30-12, right? We got absolutely pumped that year. But my point is, it's been almost 10 years since you had that line and you saw the formula. That formula, not only did it boost Tannehill to his best year as a pro until he got hurt, Matt Moore was able to lead that team without him to the playoffs. Jay Ajayi had an unbelievable year. Like, you had an absolutely stacked line with, Brandon Albert, DeJuan James, Pouncey, Tunsil, Dallas Thomas, Billy Turner. And remember Jerome Bushrod, too, on that team. Like, and you totally forgot about that recipe. And that recipe... It showed you the formula. Jay Ajayi had a career year. Tannehill, career year until he got hurt. Matt Moore, we got to the playoffs with that gunslinger. And since then, it's almost 10 years removed. And Grier has come nowhere close to replicating even 60% of that. That's scary. Think about that for a second. That is a scary, scary thought. And I got to do it. I know the NFL awards were just a couple nights ago, but shout out to Chop Robinson. He ended up finishing 5th in voting. He didn't get any first overall votes. Kalen Bullock got one, which is hilarious. And we end up and found out that was Ben Volin from the Boston Globe. And I mean, that guy doesn't know football. We already knew that. But Chop Robinson, not bad for a guy who people were calling a bust after the first 5 or 6 games. People were declaring a absolute Charles Harris or Deion Jordan replica. Like, you people look absolutely embarrassed. And what's crazy too is, look at number 4 on this list, Cooper DeJean. Remember how badly I wanted him? He was on my man crush list as a corner and a safety. And I had Dolphin fans arguing whether we should have drafted that kid. Look at our safety room. Look at our corner room right now. My God, could we use a kid like Cooper DeJean? But Chop Robinson, I mean, absolute. What's crazy is, like, think about this. He had more sacks than the defensive rookie of the year in Jared Verse. He had a higher, snap to pressure rate than Jared Verse. He had the highest pass rush win rate of every rookie edge player this year. Shout out to Chop Robinson. Man, if he would have started off, the way he finished the final, if you got the production in the final 8 as well in the first 8, the same the same kind of production he got in the back half, he got in the first half of the season, and he finished with over 12 sacks, he would have won Rookie of the Year. Man. But patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this episode. Shout out to each and every one of you for coming through and checking it out. Remember, I'm going to be live for the Super Bowl. Make sure you come through and watch it with me. Are the Chiefs going to win? Are the Eagles going to win? We're going to find out. And, man, I know we're all not excited, but hopefully this game blows us away in some way, shape, or form. I'd rather be wrong and it not be low scoring and high scoring and us just want to be on the edge of our seats, but we'll find out. So make sure you check me out for the Super Bowl. Shout out to all of you. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We are under 90 away from 17K. As always, fins up. Shout out to BetUS, and we'll see you on the next one.